in prison for the third time and said, this has to be it. What are we doing differently? I was so ashamed of myself walking back into prison. Now the world was evolving and it runs off technology, and I was like, okay, you definitely need to get up to speed here. You need to teach yourself all that you can so that you have everything right at your fingertips when you go out. And I wasn't going to let anything hinder me from being successful.
Hi, my name is Teresa Hodge. I'm the president and CEO of Mission Launch, and welcome to Come Home Ready. I'm here having a conversation with, I keep saying I have all these new best friends in Arizona for the record. So another new best friend from Arizona.
Yes, indeed.
Valerie Ocho. And so really excited to have you here. And we're going to dig into a lot of things, but first, just want you to introduce yourself and talk about what brings you to this work.
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you for having me, Teresa. So my name is Valerie Ochoa, and I am a sales executive in the tech industry now for about 10 years. And I am formerly incarcerated and have returned home as of May 2020. And so excited to share a little bit about my story and how I got to where I am today.
You've been home since 2020, but you've been an executive in the tech space for 7 years. Mm-hmm. How is that possible?
Well, fortunately, where I was incarcerated is that they had work-based programs that taught marketable skills. And fortunately, this particular company that operated inside of the prison ran outsourced sales and marketing campaigns. And so there I was recruited. I had actually applied the whole nine, made it through a boot camp, and got involved in tech. And just picked up really quickly, had no prior experience, no prior knowledge, and something just lit a fire in me, my hunger for knowledge and to learn. And so from there, it just took off. And wow, I just can't believe that it's been so long now and that I'm here.
That's good. It's good because a lot of people who we talk to, they are still looking for employment. They're looking for that livable, sustainable wage. And it sounds like you kind of found that.
Yeah, I did. Very fortunate. But I will tell you that it did come with a lot of hard work on myself as an individual, but also, implementing what I was taught, self-training myself, self-paced learning through various applications that were available to me. And so that just helped me just accelerate my journey even more.
Now that we established that, because I wanted to make sure that did not get lost on everyone, and I wasn't sure, where the conversation was going to go after that. Again, most people, that's not their reality, that they come home and they have a job in the tech space. And so I'm super glad because, there's so many pathways that people go to prison, and there are a lot of pathways for people to come home and take advantage of opportunity. Mm-hmm. And so I'm grateful and excited that, for you, it's the tech space.
Yeah.
But let's talk about, a little bit more of the pathway and the journey into prison for just a second, and then, feel free to share what you're comfortable sharing. Mm-hmm. But, before 2020, what was life like?
Yeah, so my pathway into incarceration, nobody wakes up and says, hey, I feel like going to prison. I'm going to be an inmate today. That's never the case. I grew up in a working class neighborhood, 2 young parents, and eventually after time, the family broke apart, marriage separated, and unfortunately my mother got involved in drugs. And so that's where I was introduced. And of course, coming from a neighborhood where this is pretty common, right? Poverty, violence, drugs, abuse, all of that goes hand in hand. And so it was just another means of survival, right? That was her means of survival. But of course, living in the type of environment that I grew up in, and also becoming a teenage parent, you have to grow up very quickly. And so here I was, young mother, a baby, no form of income. Her father wasn't reliable. And so one thing led to another, and I got involved into the drug scene by selling drugs. Before I knew it, I was involved in a relationship with my neighbor who was also my drug dealer, who I was getting drugs and selling drugs for, and got involved in abusive relationships. So long story short, clouded mind, making wrong decisions out of survival, and eventually made my way into the system. And that was the first time, right? So my first time I did 5 years, came home, thought, hey, I did my time, I got it right. And that wasn't the case, because in less than 3 years, I had reoffended again, and was right back into the system. So again, for an additional 5 years, thinking, hey, okay, this is the time, I'm going to get it right. Got involved in work-based programs there, and fortunately did come home, right? And when I say come home, I went right back into the exact same environment that I grew up in. Mm-hmm. So the definition of insanity, right, is thinking you're going to do the same thing and have a different result, and that wasn't the case, right? Same thing, involved in abusive relationships, involved in drugs. Didn't know it at the time, that's how I coped. And so for a third time again, reoffended after my family, my mom and my grandfather passed away. And so thought I had it right, thought I had the support, had the job, the whole 9 yards. And no, it just took a life decision that will ultimately change your life forever. And that's what happened. So in prison for the third time, and said, this has to be it. What are we doing differently? I was so ashamed of myself walking back into prison for a third time, knowing this is not me. This is not my life. This is not my aspirations or my dreams. I know that I'm capable of much more than this. What am I going to do about it? Because, caught in the system, and once you're involved in that system, and the consequences get worse. And I didn't want to look at doing a life sentence on an installment plan.
And so the third time, how long was that sentence?
6 years.
So 5, 5, and 6.
Yeah, so
okay.
A total of 16 years altogether, in less than 20 years. And so, and of course now at this time I'm older, right? I initially went into the system when I was 21 years old. When I reoffended and went in for the third time, I was now 37 years old. And so I'm like, yeah, we definitely have to change something here. So again, just pretty much put my head down. What could I take advantage of as far as programs, as far as counseling, as far as training, as far as work? Also, too, just to remind you, my grandfather and my mother had just passed away, and that was home. Those were my parents, and now I had nothing. I had no one. My childhood home was gone. My family was gone. My children were spread out, and so I was like, I have to take advantage of every resource available that's in front of me. So got involved again, work-based program. And I think the real difference in that part is that somebody recognized potential in me and said, hey, I think that you're capable of doing this. Let's see if you can do it. And just showing that little bit of potential in me just sparked a wildfire. And I was just hungry for knowledge. I desired for this life, this normalcy that I always imagined for. And now I thought it was possible. It was possible. And through that, through learning life skills, through different community programs, reentry transition programs such as Arrowet here, the work program, again, like I said, the skills, and then just learning about technology too was huge, because now the world was evolving and it runs off technology. And I was like, okay, you definitely need to get up to speed here. You need to teach yourself all that you can so that you have everything right at your fingertips when you go out. And I wasn't going to let anything hinder me from being successful.
Well, it sounds like you have it together. And one thing for sure is, if someone saw you today and we didn't have this conversation, they would have no idea.
None.
Yeah. And I think that, and that's a good thing, right? Because the fact that you went to prison 3 times are just 3 data points about you.
Yeah.
It doesn't tell the totality of who you are as a person. And your story resonates. I feel like there are a lot of people who, in prison, someone saw something in them, their potential that they didn't see, and planted a seed, and that seed blossomed. And it sounds like,
Yeah.
it was that for you too.
Mm-hmm.
And certainly, talk about like the job, the technology. Do you feel like it was that, job itself, in addition to some of the other programs, that made you feel like when I come home this time, I can connect to the right employment?
It's that, along with, because at work, right, I was learning about technology hands-on, and that just allowed me to believe in myself more, that, wow, you have these skills that are very valuable, and you can get out into the workforce. And if you can get the job that, hey, pays the bills, like, wow, you don't have to worry about. It's just that, hey, what do I need? I need a home, I need a job, I need the bare necessities, and I'll be happy. So that, along with like the programs, again, while incarcerated, we did get tablets assigned and installed into
So
the.
you were working in technology,
Mhm.
and then back on your bunk,
Yep.
you would have access to the technology again.
Yes. So various applications, there's music, there's games, but there's also learning academies and different courses that you can take, mental health or life skills, or, you want to learn something. I think there's different universities too that offer programs on there as well. So that was huge as far as for me being able to, again, continue to feed that hunger to learn what more could I possibly do and stack up in my corner in my favor for when upon release. I would say that's probably like the key components of my success in my career today.
Wonderful. I know when we were talking before, you were telling a story about how once you got the tablet, like there was a period of time where you were not connected to your daughter and communicating. And as you were telling the story about how once you got the tablet and so forth, the communication opened back up. And when you told that story, I was, instantly I thought about how we communicate today is through email or texting.
Yep.
And I know for me, people don't write letters anymore.
No. No.
Like it's like the last art, is writing a letter. I've supported people who are in prison. I'll write a letter, and sometimes it's like a week later before I put it in the mailbox.
Yeah, exactly.
So do you feel like the technology brought you and your daughter back together because it made it accessible for her to communicate with you?
Yeah. You're absolutely right about the fact that nobody writes anymore. It's all texting, it's all apps, and it's just ease of use. I know even for myself today as an end user and communicating with folks, I don't want to write a letter. I want to send you a quick message and ensure that you get it.
So you communicate with people today using the tablets?
I do. I mentor individuals who are getting ready for their release and reentry back into society. So it's just a lot easier to communicate that way, essentially in real time. And you can send, pictures, videos, all of that. And it just helps that individual, again, feel more connected. So in my particular case, my daughter, who was already an adult at this time, a young adult in her early 20s, she was new into her marriage, new into life, getting set up, situated, and of course along with that comes many different things. So, mom back in prison for the third time versus, hey, I have this new life ahead of me, wasn't so much a priority, but I understand. She was trying to give her support and the writing of letters, and of course I want pictures. You have to go and print pictures and put in an envelope and send them to me. If you're busy, it's a lot. So, communication fell off as things were happening in her life. And of course, I'm in there wondering, is she okay? I'm watching the news. Is that her car? I don't know. After about 2 years, I wrote a letter to my brother. And of course, this was right as the tablets were brought into the institution. But I was like, hey, send everybody a message. Hey, this is really cool application we have now. You don't have to write letters. You can just send me a quick message or an email. And within a week, my daughter popped up on my app, on my tablet one day as I go to check it as I get off work, and I see an email from her, and I'm telling you, I was ecstatic, like beyond excited, because I was so worried and concerned. But her reaching out and just the ease of connection made it so valuable, because again, as I'm getting ready to release, I have all these different questions and ideas and thoughts, and I don't know what I'm facing as I'm getting ready to be released. She was able to help ease some of that fear and speak to me and just validate that I'm a human being and that I'm loved and that I have support out there, even though, for the past few years it wasn't right in front of me. But it just reassured me that we got this and we're going to be on the road to success this time.
Wonderful, wonderful. I often say that we have this problem in this country called mass incarceration. And it is a national problem, but reentry, the journey, the pathway out is local. Mm-hmm. It's hyper-local. Do you agree or disagree with that?
I do agree that it is hyper-local, because you have to be very close-knit. I would say that I have a community of folks here that I was incarcerated with, some that I haven't been incarcerated with, but have been supportive along this journey. And they're within access, like they're within a phone call away or an email. And that is so important, because if you're just an individual and you don't really have that type of support that is that close to you, it's just a probability that you're probably going to reoffend again.
And so what was the best reentry service or resource or opportunity that you had access to?
I would definitely have to say, hands down, Arrowet Foundation. So Arrowet Foundation has a pre-release program, a reentry transition program that allows individuals to take advantage of their services, right? So they actually set them up employment skills, interviewing skills, financial skills, life skills, and so forth. But as they came into the prison, and again, I'm all this in mind that this is my last time. What am I doing differently? And it took somebody, because I've been through different programs before, right? I've been incarcerated before, different programs before, but it was always from individuals that had not walked in my shoes, mm-hmm. had not had any type of experience in the system. And so actually having somebody who was very local to me, in fact, she was incarcerated with me, but watch her to come back into the prison and to be able to speak about her experience. Here's what I've encountered. Here are things that you're going to uncover, and here's what you need to figure out. And that was pivotal right there.
So do you think that, I know Arrowet works with women.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that the services and the needs of a woman is different than some of the services and needs for men?
I would say yes and no. Yes, because as women, right, of course we have children, we may be single mothers, whatever the case may be, especially if we're thinking about our careers. Mm-hmm. There's a lot that comes along with that. But I would say the same goes for men, because there's many different men now that are also single fathers now, because the mothers or wives are incarcerated, or whatever the case may be. But I think universally, like whether you're man, woman, whoever you are, you need this wraparound services to be able to support you successfully.
Yeah. One of the statistics says that for women, the first thing that they're most concerned about when they come home are their children, mm-hmm. and just connecting to the children.
Yeah.
And it's, I was in prison and I read something that said, children are the anchor to a mother's soul. And I believe that. Mm-hmm. And I believe that for a lot of women, it's the first thing that we want to do. Mm-hmm. So talk to me about, what was the first meal you ate?
The first meal I ate
when you left prison. Everybody laughs.
I can't even remember.
You can't remember. Everybody remembers.
I would probably say, honestly, I think it was the following day that I finally ate, because the first day I got out, I could not eat at all. I was so nervous and car sick from driving in a car.
Oh.
Yeah. But I'm going to be bad and probably say it was probably some fast food that I probably shouldn't have been eating. It's probably McDonald's or something like that. But yeah. Was there a particular first meal you had when you came home?
Yeah, Cracker Barrel.
Ooh,
And then my daughter reminded me Popeyes too. So,
okay.
Obviously I was like, as soon as I get out, how far is the closest Cracker Barrel? And I just wanted a pancake, some hash browns, a piece of bacon. I just wanted just good food. And I wanted a good cup of coffee and orange juice.
Yes.
So that was my first meal. And then before they dropped me off at the halfway house, because I had to go to a halfway house for 6 months, she reminded me that I wanted another meal, which was Popeyes on the way in. So, I was good. What I knew was they probably weren't going to feed me well inside of the halfway house. And I just wanted to make sure that was there. But it's funny because I know a lot of people when they come home, their first car ride, they do get car sick.
Yes, I literally told my family, drop me off at the nearest corner, please, because I was picked up in a Charger too. So zooming around the city, Arizona heat, yeah, it was not fun.
Yeah, no. So when you think of come home ready, if you could look into the camera and if you could, talk to someone, and this time you don't have to talk to women in Arizona. You can talk to women across the country. You can, and quite frankly, since you said that, what men and women need are the same, what would you have to say to someone?
I would definitely say that if you really want change and you're ready for a better life, because everybody has the opportunity to have a better life, but it takes the work and it requires you doing the work, right? There's plenty of people here to help support you, to help guide you, to answer any questions. And I say too that that's super important is don't be afraid to ask for help. Don't be afraid to raise your hand. Don't be afraid to ask questions. There's never a dumb question, especially when it comes to your success and a healthy life where you're here at home. Come home and stay home. That's what we want every individual to do. So whether you need to take a look at yourself deep inside and say, hey, what do I need to be able to make it? I literally took a composition book down and started making notes, bullet pointing, hey, what does housing look like for me? If I didn't have housing, what resources do I have in front of me for housing, for food, for clothing, for job opportunities? How am I preparing myself to get back out into the workforce? What skills do I need? So I say take a self-inventory, make note of that, and get busy. And it doesn't mean, hey, tackle and conquer everything at once. Start with one small thing a day. I challenge you to make one goal a day towards your release. What can you do to help support that, right? Whether it's education, life, whatever it is. You have plenty of people support you.
Yeah, so people often say, they try to make me feel like I'm special. And whereas my ego loves that a little bit.
You are special.
There's nothing special about me. When I look at you, I always say that some of the most incredible people I met in prison.
Yes.
And whereas we didn't share that journey together, you're such an incredible person. And, you're what's possible. And so we're having a conversation. We have an opportunity to just let everyone know what's possible, because when they're sitting in prison, they don't know.
Yeah.
What can I be? What can I do?
Yeah.
And so I'm so happy to have been able to share this time with you.
Thank you.
Because you're what's possible. You could go to prison, come home and have a tech job.
Yeah. Anything is possible. I would say, and I have a community of friends and colleagues that we were all incarcerated together, and we stay connected through technology, through Facebook groups, through different LinkedIn groups, whatever it is. But that connection is so important, right? Connection with your community, connection with your family and your children, because we hold each other accountable, right? And it's so wonderful. I can say out of all of the women that I have seen that have come out and have stayed in my network, it's 1 to 2 that have actually fell off and gotten back into the system and are on track to reoffend. So, but everyone else happy and successful, and it can be done.
Well, I'm so happy to have this conversation with you and to have you in my circle, and now I'm in your circle too.
Thank you.